Good morning. Welcome back to the Warriors Way in association with UCAN, United Community Addiction Network. We are here this morning with our warrior. His name is AJ. Say hi, AJ.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
And AJ is has created Third Monkey Fitness, which I love that name, and I love the behind story on that. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. But he's one of my friends who has gone through an extraordinary circumstance, and he's taken that negative and turned it into a positive. So we are going to get started with that. So, AJ, please tell me where you are from.
Right here. I grew up in Kearsley area, Genesee County.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went through school and everything else around here. And then I moved to Texas.
Texas, like the big state, big guns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I married a Texas lady. And then we moved back here. I moved there about 13 years ago.
All right,
and
so
then,
did you graduate from Kearsley? Or did you
no,
go?
no,
Where'd you go?
Well, actually, you saw, as an interesting story. I always lived in Kearsley area, so Burton area.
Yeah.
But I went to Genesee Christian. I went to Kearsley till 6th grade. Then I went to Genesee Christian for about 3.5, 4 years.
So did you like get kicked out of school and have to go to a parochial?
Oh no,
or?
no.
Oh, you were just a good kid.
I chose to go to somewhere else. So.
Oh, I got
yeah.
you. Okay.
And then in 10th grade, I decided I wanted to try homeschooling. So we homeschooled.
Wow, so you went from less social to non-social.
Yeah. Well, actually, there was a method behind the madness. So there was some things going on at Genesee Christian that we decided to leave.
Okay.
But I could go to college at the same time. Baker College has started a program.
Oh, wow.
So all the kids that get to go to college and high school, I was number one.
Really?
So in 1996.
So you're the guy.
I'm the guy. So I actually did some talks at Baker College, but we were able to go to Baker College as homeschoolers, so we could go to college and high school at the same time.
Wow.
And so for the last 3 years of high school, I was a part-time college student and full-time golfer, part-time high school student.
So how long did it take you to get to college, like once you graduated high school? Is that like just a couple years?
Yeah,
then?
it was just a couple years. Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
So did you go to Texas then, like to finish?
No, actually, I graduated high school from a little school called North Branch Wesleyan Academy. And because they had a homeschool department, okay. And that was the only reason. So a whopping 33 graduates in our graduating class. Yeah, I met 32 of them 31 of them on graduation day.
Oh, nice.
The other 2 were on the golf team. So with me, so
nice.
We had that, and then I went to college, and then I worked at Home Depot, and then I got married the first time at 21 and 22. Sorry, 22, and was divorced by 23.
Well, you make those good choices when you're young.
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't know that.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's weird.
So, and then I was single for a few years, and then when I met my current wife, she lived on the other side of the state, so we dated in Lansing because she was in Grand Rapids, I was in Flint, so we met halfway. Yeah, and then and about 6 months after we started dating, she moved to Texas. That's where she's originally from.
Hold on. So you went here and then married and divorced, and that was here?
That was here, yeah.
Okay, and then how did you meet her?
On eHarmony.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the successful eHarmonies.
Well, and it was a total God thing because she was trying like a free weekend kind of thing. And
really?
I
you're like, hey, how are you?
Well, and I had signed up for it. Well, apparently I put my email in my you're not supposed to put your email in. Well, I'd have my email in your name in my bio and description and everything the whole time. Well, she didn't want to continue on the free subscription.
So she wrote her down.
So she just sent an email to me. And then we started talking that way. And
you worked the system.
Yeah, apparently, without knowing it.
Work the system on accident to get a lifelong partner.
Yeah. So then she moved back to Texas and to get her teaching certificate because that's where she's originally from. And so
hold on, back up there. She was in Grand Rapids doing what?
Working. She went to school at Hope College.
Okay, so she went from Texas to Grand Rapids to Hope College?
Nope.
See, you're skipping stuff
Okay,
here.
so you want my wife's? I'll give you.
No, I just want to understand
so
your timeline.
My wife, when she was,
because you're how old when this is going on?
25.
Okay.
And I'm 42 now.
And she's younger than you?
She's older than me. She's 44.
Oh.
Yeah.
My
I'm
man.
41 now, so she's 44.
Not even close, but can't be.
Yeah.
That's a cherub face, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, so you're like 25-ish.
Yeah.
So she was from Texas to Grand Rapids.
She was from Texas, but her parents, unfortunately, had passed away when she was very young.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was adopted by her aunt in Indiana.
Okay.
And then she lived in Indiana she went to high school in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Frankfort, Indiana, home of the hot dogs.
Home of the hot dogs.
It's actually an interesting story.
Hey, we got Kogels.
That's right. They filmed Blue Chips, the movie Blue Chips there. So Shaquille O'Neal was at her high school her senior year.
Really? Eating hot dogs?
Yeah, eating hot dogs. Yeah. So
outstanding.
Yeah, their cheers. It's getting hot in here. There must be some hot dogs in the atmosphere. I was like, that's where the greenhouse gases are coming from.
There must be some hot dogs in the atmosphere.
Yeah, so it's quite funny. They have a wiener dog race every year at their town festival. It's awesome.
Of course they do.
And so, of course,
outstanding.
Yeah. Who's wiener?
All right, so
fastest?
we're in Indiana.
And so she's in Indiana, and she had a friend who had looked at going to Hope College.
Yeah.
So she was like, well, the obvious choice, because where she was from, would be go to Purdue. It was 45 minutes away,
right.
Lafayette, and that's what she was looking at going. And then she ended up going to Hope, and then she had a son, and her son's dad was around Holland, Grand Rapids area. So
gotcha.
That's where she stayed.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
And then she was working, and she always wanted to be a teacher. And so she went back to school for teaching. And Texas had a unique program that where with her bachelor's degree she could actually get credit basically for teaching.
Okay.
And so she moved back there with her family, her Texas family. She's one of 13 kids, so I mean, but it's funny. She's the only one from her mom and her dad. So she has 6 half siblings on both sides, and a set of twins in each one of those. And so so it's an interesting story. But she's so she moved to Texas and. She basically sent me an email and said, you either got to tie me down or let me go because I got Cowboys here that want me. And I was like, okay, well, apparently this Yankees got to come get you. So, I moved there for a year. And then, but we own a business here and it needed some help.
We're going to get to that. Yeah. So you were in Texas. Did you stay down there for a little while?
For a year.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Okay. And what'd you do while you're down there other than court?
Yeah, I did I ran a home care company.
Cool.
So there was someone else that had a different home care company that I ran it for them.
All right, gotcha. So, and you were 26?
Yeah, 20. Well, we got married in 2000. No, I was 2008, so I was 28.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so all that happened in a little while, and all that matters with his wife and all this will come with the next session because AJ and I go hang out same social club, and AJ was one of the people on the news that got COVID and wasn't supposed to make it. You're like 0% oxygen for like 4 days or something crazy, right?
I was about 50% oxygen.
50% oxygen.
But it was but they told me I had a 0% chance of making it.
0% chance of making it. That's right. I knew the zero was in there somewhere. Yep. And your wife got it as well, right? So, and they're like, and you guys were on oxygen for a long time, right?
5.5 months.
5.5 months.
And my wife was on oxygen for about 2 months.
All right. And so, and you guys, it just wasn't supposed to make it. Like, okay. So, you got married, had some kids, you're doing the business thing, right? You're in your late 20s, early 30s. And you get COVID. Now, this was, my understanding of COVID is there's like a bunch of different strands. Some that are cold symptoms, some that are flu symptoms, and some that are super serious. But it's all COVID.
Yeah.
And it's all the same strand. And you got like the most serious one.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Like as close to death. That's as serious as it gets, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, and they said one reason why I got it so bad was I had pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia for about a month before. And so, but I had been doing my workout for so.
Yeah. Hard. So I was going to tell him. So tell him what you were doing prior, because I remember you were working out and you were doing what?
So you want me like last January, right? When I started it?
Yeah. Before you got COVID.
Yeah, okay.
Because you remember you were working out and you're like, I feel great. No.
So January 2021, my wife and I went on a quest to officially not be fat and just be better, be healthier. Yeah. We have too much to do.
Yeah, being big boned is tough.
Yeah. And so I had looked at this thing called DDP yoga for a long time. And actually I had a membership there for a couple of years for it. And I would do workouts from time to time, but I kept telling her, hey, we should look at this. And then she was like, I don't want some wrestler yelling at me to do yoga.
DDP is like a WWF or WWE.
He was a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he's a 2-time world champion. Yeah.
2-time world. And he does yoga.
He does yoga.
Now, when you first told me that, all I could see is like, walking into the world.
Oh yeah,
and then we're gonna stretch and touch toes.
Well, that's it. We have Road Warrior. We have we actually have a wrestling section where it's named after all these.
Yeah. So in my mind, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like the Ultimate Warrior. You're stretching. Right? And so in my mind, I'm like, this sounds dumb.
Yeah.
But you were like sold, right?
Oh,
and didn't you say it like helps guys that like couldn't? You told me about somebody that couldn't hardly walk or stand up, and he was back to full health. What was that story?
He's a Army. He was one of his first success stories. Because he started it back in like the early 2000s. And it was called Yoga for Regular Guys. Because how it started was his wife at the time was downstairs. He was in a wheelchair, basically, or completely. He said he was never going to wrestle again. He was going to have back surgeries. Yeah. And because he was old when he started wrestling, he was 35 when he started WWF wrestling, and he had hurt. I don't know if he ruptured or he did something with a couple discs in his back, and they said it's going to be a long recovery, or if you've ever recovered.
Yeah, sure.
And so his wife was like, you should do yoga. And he's like, I'm not doing that stupid crap, like most guys would say.
Yeah.
And
I'm one of those stupid guys.
Yeah. And then she comes upstairs and she's sweating like crazy. He's like, what are you doing? Yeah. And she's like, yoga. I told you you should try it. Yeah, right. So he got himself downstairs and watched her, and he's like, I could incorporate physical therapy, some calisthenics, some resistance training like Tai Chi type moves, slow movements, and flexing the muscles. Along with this, how could I incorporate this? So that's where it came Yoga for Regular Guys. What it started
as. Regular guys.
Yeah, we're the regular guys.
That's
and then when he started DDP Yoga, when he changed the name again, after he was on, I think you changed it before he went on Shark Tank. But on Shark Tank, nobody took him up on it. But he did like a massive amount of sales right after Shark Tank. Right. But that's all being said because he changed it to DDP Yoga. It ain't your mama's yoga is their tagline. And so Arthur Borman is a guy who he was a paratrooper in the Army, and he was. I mean, obviously they land hard. So he was overweight. His knees were really bad. He was in full leg braces that you see the linemen wear in the NFL. And he started doing it. And he just took it upon himself. He's kind of like very single-minded focus. You can kind of tell he's probably like an engineer style or something like that.
I don't know what that's
like.
You
don't know what that's like at all.
No idea what you're talking about.
He's I think in 10 months he lost 140 pounds and went from being in leg braces with 2 canes to running full tilt.
So he had 2 canes and he lost a teenager in weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's crazy. So this is the stuff that you had just started doing, right? You're like 70-something days in or something.
115.
115, okay.
115 is the day I went to the hospital.
I think 70-something was the pounds lost afterwards. We're going to get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so that's where we're going to stop right now. Okay. So we just started doing yoga, which it blew my mind. Yoga for guys. I was just like...
And I was showing the moves.
Are you guys doing DDPs to each other? And I just was like, if it's for you, that's cool. Like, whatever, right? And then COVID happened, and you were just gone.
Yeah.
Right? You just disappeared. And then we were able to get in touch, and that's a super great story. And when we come back, we're going to get into that story. So if you haven't gone to Spiritual Warfare Unit, go to Spiritual Warfare Unit, like and subscribe what we're doing, and share this, and we will be right back. Taking a quick break from our podcast, I wanted to let you know about our life application program that we have for churches and nonprofits in the area that are trying to find programming that they can use in case the corona shuts you down and you're not able to get in. You go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. You click on our episodes, and you can check out our programs for as little as $29.99 a month to make sure that we're still getting the word out to those people that need it. Now, back to the program.
Sing it?
All right. Welcome back to the Warrior's Way. We're always ready to sing, bud.
That's right. Doing podcasts for Jesus.
Podcasting for Jesus. He's my favorite. Hey, man. So we just got back. So you were doing yoga, and then COVID happened. And you said you had been fighting with pneumonia there for like a month, right?
Yeah, actually, it was kind of funny. I had taken a couple trips, and one of them was in late January, and I was down in Florida where my parents go, but we had a meeting down there too, and they said, my mom's like, "Hey, you're not looking good." And I was doing yoga, but my lungs had gotten so strong, even just after a month, that I was like, I'll push through. I'll muscle through. That's what
being a guy, right?
Oh, yeah, being a guy, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Put it, 'tis nearly a flesh wound. It's like, and
hold my arm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Put it in the cooler. We'll put it on the back later. It's like, yeah. So it's so yeah, I got pneumonia sometime. I went on spring break and the end of March, early April, and they think I had pneumonia then. Yeah. And that was I was snorkeling in the Keys and doing everything, doing yoga every day.
Like a manly man.
Just I'd done 115 days in a row yoga. And so, but my daughter got COVID like April, maybe like 20th, 15th, 18th, something like that. She came home with COVID. So we had to quarantine. My wife's a teacher. Yeah. And I own a home care business, so we don't want to get the seniors sick. Yeah, and clearly. So my staff had already kicked me out because I wasn't sounding good. Yeah. And that's when I had the pneumonia. And then,
so like, when did you go to the hospital?
April 25th of last year.
So it was like 5 days once your daughter come home with COVID.
Yeah. Okay. And because I was feeling fine. Yeah. But it was one of those things where, you got a choice. Are you a dad or are you scared of a virus? Right. And so it's like your 9-year-old's laying there crying with 103 fever. You're not going to be like all gowned up and walking in there and scaring her to death. You're going to give her a hug. Yeah. And so I got COVID, And
so you get COVID, then you have to go to the hospital.
I go to the hospital on April 25th. And then my wife came on April 26th. Okay. And was admitted to the hospital. Okay. And then everything at the hospital happened in hindsight. Yeah. So like it all happened, but then we didn't realize the impact of it for like 2 weeks later.
So you're in the hospital and like basically all hell broke loose. Like you couldn't get breath.
Yeah. So I was in the hospital like on my third day. I didn't know how bad I was. No one told me. I remember sitting on the side of the bed, just like hallucinating, just like really sick. And apparently I was at 100% oxygen and 100% flow rate. Yeah. And I was, every time I would cough or move, I dropped to like 50% blood oxygen.
Yeah. So when you told me this, you were like, there was at a point they just knew you were going to die and there was nothing they could do, right?
Yeah. That day, it was like my third day there. The respiratory therapist, she came in and she would do everything she could. And she took this. I found this out 5 days before I got out. Yeah. So it's kind of, again, hindsight. Yeah, go ahead. Is she's like, I would go out in the hallway and cry and we'd pray over you.
Yeah. And so these nurses that are exhausted, they're not just physically exhausted. They're emotionally exhausted because they're vested in you guys, right?
Yeah. They've been through war.
Was this the time when like they would just come in and pray around? You said they would just gather and pray because there's
no, just out in the hallway.
Oh, out in the hallway.
They didn't tell me because that was the thing is I had no idea I was going to die. Yeah. Like they would bring my wife in. Right? It is a weird spot. Yeah. They'd bring my wife in. I didn't realize this. My wife, they brought her down in a wheelchair and that broke protocol because you weren't supposed to take COVID patients between rooms. And so they brought her down twice.
Following the rules.
Oh yeah. No, well, good people will disobey bad rules. So, so they brought her down, to see me a couple times. Yeah. Because I didn't realize this, they didn't think I was going to make it. Wow. And so, and they were talking about moving us into the same room. Yeah. And it was kind of like, no, I don't think we should move it in the same room yet. She actually had more wisdom in that than me because she knows me and I just want to take care of her. Right. And so she was like, no, he'll kill himself taking care of me. Yeah. In our room. And so, yeah, the staff there, what God put out, as far as the staff there to help was just an amazing group of people.
And these people, they didn't think you were going to make it. Like everyone else that had been in your position that dropped to that 50%. oxygen thing had died, right?
Well, let me tell you what I had. So no, people that had dropped it, only 70% had died. So that's the thing is,
you're setting a new record.
I'm setting a new record. They literally told me no one that had about half of your stuff came out of here outside of a body.
Give me the list. How bad was it?
So I had pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia in both of my lungs. I had 75% COVID pneumonia in both of my lungs.
Wow.
And then I got a blood clot in both of my lungs. And then they put me on a BiPAP machine to help me breathe while I was sleeping.
Yeah.
And it collapsed my right lung.
Oh,
so
outstanding.
I got a pneumothorax, which is it's a tear in your lung up high. Thankfully, they didn't have to put the tube in my chest because it was a high one, so it could heal itself. And I pulled the mask off.
Yeah.
And but it also gave me subcutaneous emphysema at the same time. So basically, the air that went from the hole in my lung pumped air into my skin, and it felt like someone took Jello and beanbag chair filling and injected me with it. I said it feels like they took a hose and shoved up my butt and just pumped me through, and it was all right here. So it looked like I had lost like 50 pounds, but it looked like I was the Kool-Aid man.
So
like,
you had pneumonia, COVID
pneumonia,
emphysema,
yep, blood clots, collapsed lung,
like
everything. And they had no ICU beds available and no ventilators.
That's right.
But
you couldn't get, and they didn't want to put you in there because they figured you just weren't going to make it, right?
And so hindsight, that's probably the best thing that happened because I became respiratory therapy's pet project. Because I mean, a little bit of a side story. I golf with a group of guys that we go on a couple golf trips a year.
Yeah.
Well, one of those guys had just died of brain cancer, and he was a nurse at Genesis for 20 years.
Gotcha.
So he was friends with all these people. Well, I was supposed to be on the golf trip while I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
So I had all my golf stuff that I had him bring up because I had coins made for him. I had poker chip ball markers made for him for Scott. And I had them all made up. I had my shirt brought up. Well, I didn't know this, but all the respiratory therapists were his best friends.
Oh, wow.
And so they would walk by my room and they'd pray over my room. They were always checking on me, and other nurses. He worked in the, I think the cath lab, and he was and so they loved him. So they were making sure they checked on me because of that relationship. And it was, I mean, definitely ordained by
so
God,
you're going in there. There's no chance you're living. Somehow, by the grace of God, you made it through that. There's no answer to that. It just happened. Just my sheer determination. But the funny, I mean, there's a great, and I mean, by the grace of God, but just sheer, like, not giving up. You know, so like you and I were talking about this, and when you're going, the images and stuff you see, me and being in my car accident, when you're dying, it's actually kind of peaceful, but it's terrifying because it's like the stuff you see and the, like,
that's what the Psalms 23 and, Psalms 91, it's absolutely, there's a valley of shadow of death. And
but there's difference between knowing it and then living it.
Oh, right? Absolutely.
And so when you're
having
doing
the visual,
dude, it's terrifying, right? Because you can see, I don't know how to explain this to people. It's like a tunnel, and then there's all this black stuff around you, and you can see the things moving, but you know you're okay, but it's terrifying. And then you don't know how to get out. You just kind of like move forward. You know, it's like, yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, right? And I'm not going to fear that thing's come after me. And it's just a strange spot. And like for me, that's where my wife was like, you need to get tattoos to explain it. Because I was like, babe, I don't know how to explain this to people. It was too weird. And it was her idea. And so that's what my whole sleeve is about, how God got me through like that really funky, like impossible time. And I remember when you and I were talking about it, and your eyes got big, and you were like, wow. You're like, I didn't know that. And we started talking. It was just really free flowing. And I was like, dude, you need to write all this down. And you're like, I had been. And so like trying to get that process down so other people can understand, like, it's mind blowing. And then when you've gone through a death experience or a near-death experience, trying to explain that to somebody is like trying to talk to them in Greek about something they've never seen, and then hoping that they get it, right? Absolutely. And so you're sitting there, and you were in the hospital for how long? How many days?
25 days.
25 days, and then you were home for...
Well,
like on oxygen, how many days was that? That was months.
4.5, 5 months.
Okay, 4.5, 5 months. So you go into the situation, you almost die a couple times, right? Like,
and then I almost died at home too.
Right. So I was leading into that. So you made it out.
Yep.
And then you're at home, and then what happened?
Well, so I got home the first day. My wife had done a wonderful job getting a whole bedroom set up for me, just making sure the house just felt like home. And we had this big, welcome home party.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And then so that night I laid down. Well, I laid down. I'm not supposed to lay on my collapsed lung side.
Right.
And I had slept on my left side for 3.5 weeks. Well, I was so comfortable in bed that I just kind of zonked out. And I woke up and I couldn't breathe because all the pneumonia. What people don't know sometimes is pneumonia settles. Gravity affects it. And so that's why when you're having COVID, having chest pains, you should lay prone. And that's what they try to get you to do in the hospital is lay on your stomach. So it falls to the front of your lung so you can get it out. Right. So it doesn't settle. Well, so I laid on my right lung while I stood up. I got up on the side of the bed and it was like, I was at like 58% oxygen again. And so, and I didn't want to get too much oxygen because I didn't know the right protocols. Yeah. So this was like 4 or 5 in the morning. My son's sleeping out in the height of bed because he wanted to be close. Just in case he's 20. Yeah. And he wanted to be close. And then my wife is right there and she's rubbing my back. That's when you can't breathe, you're having anxiety attacks. It just helps to have someone just touch your back and just kind of calm you down. Well, I'm like, okay, they turned me up to 10 units on my oxygen machine. So that was the most I could get. It was an hour of me fighting, and I still couldn't get my oxygen to stay above 60. Yeah. And then so I said, medium flow is 15 units of oxygen. So give me another tank and give me a second cannula. And I put that in my mouth. And I said, turn it to 4 because I thought, well, this is my brain working. Yeah. Is just. Well, 15 is medium flow. So if I'm on 14, then I'm still on low flow. Yeah. So it's like, I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like how that math
works. Crank it to 11, and so it's like, so we,
maximum speed.
That's right. Yeah. Go plaid, please. And so I put it in my mouth and I recovered finally, but it was scary. And my wife wanted to call 911. I said, I'm not going back to the hospital. Right. I do not want to go back there. And then they're going to throw me on a ventilator or something like that. And I had bruises all over my stomach from the blood thinner shots. Yep. And, me and the nurses had fun. They drew a smiley face and arms on one of them. And I took a picture of it and I cut it out with my phone and we called it Betty. And so we would text it to each other and just, stupid stuff just to keep me from going crazy. Yeah. So, and I wanted to get through that part. And I know that was hard. And I want to thank you for telling us because one, as a person that's gone through that, it's nice to be able to talk about it. And it's like, you're not crazy. Like those things happen. Well, right? I remember you sitting in my living room, like day 1 or 2 when I got out. Yeah. And you were like, and I said about this stuff and Rod's crying and you're laughing. Yeah. And you're like, finally, I'm not alone. Yeah. Someone else died. I was like, I was like, did it? Yeah. It's like, and because you said, he goes, and of all people, I didn't think it was going to be you. Yeah. And so, and it was just a really cool moment. Because, I remember having that moment when I realized what I had survived in the hospital. I had this beautiful, lovely respiratory therapist came in at 2:00 in the morning to change my cannula because I had so much bad bloody noses. Yeah. And she said, she comes around the corner of the bed. And at this time I was better. I was kind of in my own private room. Yeah. And she comes around the bed. She's like, her eyes were this big. And she goes, it's you. Right. And I'm like, I hope so. Yeah. Because otherwise you're in a strange man's room at 2 a.m. and it's awkward for all of us. You're welcome. Yeah. So, yeah. So on that note, we are going to take a break. If you haven't hit Spiritual Warfare Unit, like, share, and subscribe. And we're going to be right back with some of those funny stories. You guys sit right with us. Welcome back to the Warrior's Way, associated with UCAN. I'm here with AJ. And you were telling us a story about a woman coming into your room. Yeah. Was a nurse and her eyes got big. What happened then? So she came around the bed and she was like, oh my gosh, it's you. And then we kind of had this funny little moment. And she said, and I said, yeah. She goes, no, you don't understand. I thought you died. She said, she thought you were gone. She said, I was your respiratory therapist on that third night when we would go out in the hallway and cry and pray for you. Wow. And she goes, and there was no way you were going to make it. And she goes, you literally had a 0% chance of making it. And she just started crying right then, and then she gave me a big old hug. And then
isn't it great when you got to console someone else about what you're going through? Exactly. It's weird, right?
Yeah, it is.
All right, so
it was cool.
So I know you got some gems. I know you got some funny stories. So I got to unleash you on a couple of these, buddy.
Okay.
So when you're going through these difficult times, inevitably something funny happens.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes it's only funny to you. You know, like the one when I was projectile vomiting on myself. I found that funny at the time. Yeah. And but you got to have some stuff, man. What do you got?
Well, come with everything, like not being able to breathe and everything, comes out of anxiety.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, okay, maybe some THC, maybe some because I take CBD oil to sleep and stuff. It's no big deal. But it was like, oh, maybe some THC will help me calm down, because I was having anxiety. And
that's what it's for. Those people don't seem very high strung.
No, and not at all. No, it's like, driving on under the influence of that just doesn't seem like a problem.
It's trying to hit 25.
It's like,
trying to hit 25 miles an hour instead of saying under 5.
Yeah. So having some Labrador, but no, I had so we consulted with some of my friends who work in the medicinal marijuana world.
Absolutely.
And I was like, so I sent my poor 72-year-old father around to buy pot gummies around town. And he's like, I don't even know what I'm asking for, but these were buy two, get one free. So we got these ones. And I was like,
I found a deal.
Oh, I found a deal.
That's awesome.
So we were cracking up laughing. I was like, did you get a hat? Because he gets a hat from everywhere he goes. And so he comes back and he hands me one, and I'm thinking, I'm a big guy. I'm gonna take like 2 of these. Well, I didn't.
2 gummies.
I did not. I didn't. I stopped. I did not. I took a half of one, and that was terrible enough. So, because I was on steroids, so my heart rate was going really high. So I wanted something just to bring me down. Because in the hospital, I took Xanax while I was on steroids. So my heart rate was at like 130. And I'm on Xanax, so I'm sleepy and like on speed at the same time. It was a terrible feeling. And so I thought, okay, weed, that'll help me feel better. And it's like, we get them and I'm like, okay, watermelon flavor, whatever, And so we start texting like friends that do this.
Sure, you want to be informed.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, so what should I take? I'm thinking, pop 2. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Take like a half of one.
Yeah.
And so I took a half of one and I was like, I don't like this. Now
you're super anxious.
Yeah, now the snozberries tastes like snozberries. And and it's like I can taste sound and I'm still high and I'm super anxious. It was a bad experience.
I can taste sound.
Yeah, it's like,
and you're in the corner just,
oh yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to sleep. They're like, that's a good idea.
Yeah, right.
So I lay down and I wake up. Well, at this point, little more information. I couldn't always get to the bathroom. So I had like urinals and I had all these other things. So sometimes you don't wear underwear when you have all that going on. Because it's just more fabric to get in the way,
Oh, no.
And when I wake up, I'm like, and now this time I'm just a happy high guy. So it was like, I'm looking around and my shorts had pulled up and they were like a Speedo and they were like gym shorts. They were like a Speedo right here. And my shirt had pulled up over my belly. I got my belly hanging out
with permagrin.
Oh yeah. And I'm just like, and then our best friend's daughter, who's like 15.
Yeah.
And I've known her since she was like 8.
Yeah.
She comes in and I'm the straight lace dad.
Yeah, right.
From the robotics team.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy who keeps everybody else kind of chill.
Yeah.
And she's like, and Paige comes in and I was like, hi Paige. And I was like, I bet you never seen me like this before. And she's like, no. And so
she needs therapy now.
She needs therapy now. Yeah, absolutely. So I text her dad and I'm like, I think I may have traumatized your daughter. I apologize. After I came down here, I'm like, I am never doing those again. Like, it is terrible. And so, so that's my traumatizing THC gummy story.
I could just picture you, like I said, in your pajama bikini. Like said, when it gets all hyped up. I was like, please tell me he made it to the bathroom. Like I don't want that story. I was like, oh man. So like all my stories that I have to deal with that are funny for me. I had to deal with doctors. Yeah. Right. And so when I was going through my brain injury. I have to go see all these different neurologists, and they always, I'm sorry, Mr. Wallace, there's nothing you can do. It's too serious. It's too serious. And I didn't want to hear that. Yeah. And so my case manager kept sending me to these other ones, and I was going to every hospital you could think of. And so each time you go to the doctors, you have to go in and they give you the clipboard, right? Name, address, phone number, history of surgeries, which it's like, and it's like, blah, 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 blah. And for me, I got like 13 of them. So it's like, this and then this and then this and then this. And your hand's cramping, By the time you give them the back, you're like, hey, I'm Mr. Walsh the Claw.
Yeah.
So you get tired of doing that, and you find ways, like you said, to entertain yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not condoning what I'm about to say. What I'm saying is that I have a brain injury, and it was funny to me. And so that's my clerical warning. So anyways, I'm going in there, and I think I was at the U of M. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I know it was at some hospital because I had gone through 111.
Yeah.
So it was somewhere between 1 and 111 in that time frame. Yeah. So I go in there, name, address, phone number, surgeries, history, blah, 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 blah. Hobbies. I'm like, ooh, new one. So at the time I was playing Call of Duty, and any of the guys my age, we all played Call of Duty, and I was like, I'll put Assassin. So I put Assassin in for my hobby, right? And I was like, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
So I go and I sit down. There's this younger fellow, right? Brown hair, parted, very straight, slim, tie, very professional, white coat.
Like you.
Tan. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not outgoing at all.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting in there, and he pulls out the paper, and he's, and I, and I see him stopping. And so I'm like, here it comes, And so he says, Mr. Walsh, down at the bottom here under hobbies, it says you're an assassin. Well, I said, yes, that's correct. And he said, you're an assassin. And I said, that's correct. And he said, you kill people. And I said, doctor, if you have to continually repeat yourself, this is going to be an extremely long doctor's appointment. And I just want to get through this. And so he gets this perturbed look on his face, and he's like going to let it go. And then he like half turns, and he comes back. He's like, you really kill people. And at this point, I'm like, oh, I got one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'm being very calm, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like top 5 in the world in Call of Duty on a hardcore team deathmatch. I was pretty good, And he goes, you really kill people. And I was like, well, yeah. That's what assassin means last time I checked. So can we just continue on with this? So now his face starts to turn red, right? And he's a little guy.
Yeah.
And he takes a couple of steps over his desk, and then he comes back, and he says, you're really an assassin. And I was just like, that's why I put it, Doc. So he like looks at me, and he takes a couple of steps towards the door, and he kind of coyly looks back, and he's like, am I going to have to call security? And just as calmly as I could say it, I just put my hands on my stomach. I said, you can, but they won't make it here. And the look on his face was priceless. He went from irritated to fear.
Yeah,
like
terrified.
That.
Yeah.
And of course, I start laughing, right? Because this is, from a brain injured perspective, this is really funny.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? You think that's funny? Which made it more funny, right?
Absolutely.
I'm like, right? And for whatever reason, they didn't want me to come back to the doctor's office. Blew my mind because I was like, look, man, you said hobby.
Yeah.
It's not like I did it for a living, I wasn't paid for it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a side gig.
Absolutely. It's a volunteer. It's my ministry.
Yeah. This is what we do to help our society.
That's right. Yeah.
And he was not happy, and for whatever reason, he didn't want to see me again, and I accepted that answer.
Yeah.
And but it's funny, like when you're going through something and the things that you think are funny, and they just don't have a sense of humor, right? And I've told that story to other people, and they're like, I see why you think that's funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I accept that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Like,
I think it's hilarious.
So, well, thank you. I thought it was pretty funny too.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else for us?
With Third Monkey Fitness, what we're doing now, we laugh.
Hold on. First of all, it's super funny how you got the name.
Sorry, I should cover that.
Yeah.
So we have when I went in the hospital, my buddy said, he said, you got to fight like you're the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark and brother, it's starting to rain. And I didn't know that was a meme from Facebook or anything like that. Yeah. So I was like, that's awesome. So the whole time I was in the hospital, I kept reminding myself I'm the third monkey. And so we were just joking around, and I yelled it when I was in the wheelchair leaving the hospital. So that turned into our theme of our business is Third Monkey Strong, Third Monkey Fitness.
Right, so you're beating on the side of Noah. That's how Noah's Ark. That's how hard you're fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not supposed to be on the Ark, but somehow I made it. No.
You're holding on for dear life to a barnacle. Huh?
Yeah.
All right, with that, we are going to take a break. You go to spiritualwarfareunit.com, like, subscribe, and share, and we will be right back.
I was an addict for 6 years. I was deeply into heroin and addiction. 2014, a lot of events happened for me. I had lost my sister. My dad was just diagnosed with cancer. I was just kind of in this headspace of being in a mess as it was, and then I was introduced to heroin. I kept it pretty well hidden there in the beginning. A lot of people didn't know that I was using just because I went about my everyday life the same way anybody else would. But what they didn't know behind the scenes is I was using 10 times a day. I'm living out of what I consider a trap house at this point. There's no windows, there's no doors, there's no place to stay warm. I had no other way of making money. I was doing things that weren't okay to me. I started prostituting. I was stealing from my loved ones. I was taking my dad's cancer prescriptions, and I would take them and I would sell them. I couldn't even contact my daughter in December of that year to tell her Merry Christmas or send her gifts. And it just got to a point where I knew, like, I'm either going to get clean or I might as well start planning my own funeral. So for me, it wasn't even just that I needed to stop. My life over the course of 6 years fell apart.
So I met Sarah in 2019. We had a program I was working with law enforcement officers, and I got the call that they had somebody, so there I went to meet Sarah.
Here's just this happy-go-lucky guy just, oh my God, here's treatment. Here's what you can do. You can change your life around. I'm just kind of sitting there like, oh, okay, what did I get myself into? Like, maybe sitting in a cell by myself might have been a better idea, because at least I don't have to listen to all this.
Whenever I see somebody who's willing to go to treatment to try and help with their issue, it's something that I don't make that judgment. I always just try and provide the hope, the encouragement, and the motivation to go to treatment, and then hope that it works for them, hope they engage, hope that it's the point of life that they're in, that they're ready to make that change.
It was a huge wake-up call for me. When I'm watching all these people that I used to hang out with, including my husband, get clean before I did. And just watching their lives change so drastically and them becoming so much happier. And I just sat there in this endless abyss of a mess that I caused myself, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to stay clean. I didn't know how to live my life without substances because I had done it for so long.
With UCAN and our relationships we can actually get people into multiple treatment facilities. So depending on age, gender, the drug of choice, things of that nature, there's certain facilities that maybe have a little bit more of a success rate with certain populations. So we kind of talk through that and then try and place them where we feel is an optimal place to succeed.
My husband and I finally got a place together, and life has pretty much been good ever since, but like the key role of it for me was staying in contact with people.
We can't go in and drive in and grab somebody, just pull them out like they're drowning. It's a decision they have to make, and it's a commitment they have to make, and then they have to be diligent, determined, dedicated to find sobriety.
So my husband has 2 years clean, and I have 22 months clean. I will have 2 years clean on December 21st of this year. Just last month in October, we went back to court. Everything's officially terminated. She's back home with us for good.
Yeah, so UCAN is that conduit. A lot of times people don't know when to or how to or where to go to start looking for services. So we try and promote UCAN as being the starting point for people to begin the road to navigating recovery.
is more than possible to change your life around.
So this program that we have allows law enforcement that if they have somebody that they feel could use the opportunity to try and get treatment instead of incarceration, that they would reach out and we could handle it for them.
Recovery is possible, and there is hope.
Welcome back to the Warrior's Way in association with UCAN. This is Isaac from Spiritual Warfare Unit, and AJ was just getting ready to tell us about the third monkey that was beaten on the side of Noah's Ark and how that became your stick, your stuff. So
Absolutely.
Finish that story for us. So that was a meme.
So that was a meme, and my buddy who we've become very close. He was in the same business I am. And it was just a meme, and it rang true. Yeah. You know, it's like, and then when you look at it, you start doing research on monkeys. Well, they're an unclean animal.
Yep.
It's like, well, I'm an unclean animal too.
Right.
You know, I'm saved by grace. You know, and so was the first, second, and third monkey.
Yeah.
You
right.
know, they're allowed to be on the ark.
Yeah.
So they were saved by grace, and so it's just like I recognize I connected with that meme really, really well. And so yeah, I mean, it's a funny thing that turned into a divine providence thing, I guess. And so we have some Bible verses that we always stick with that got us through our hard times and got us through our whole ordeal there.
Yep. So this is how AJ and I connected. So after we talked about the story, I was like, hey, when you get better, we should talk.
Yeah.
And so Spiritual Warfare Unit has the Biblical Life Application class, right? About how to use the Bible in regular circumstances and how to identify good and bad people. And it was like, hey, we should do a mix because I want to help people physically and then you're helping them spiritually. Yeah. And I'm like, I was like, man, that's actually a pretty good idea, right? So we started collaborating on this, and the idea is, since it was your idea, you get to tell them.
Well, I mean, it's my wife is studying to be a certified yoga instructor, and I'm going to be as well. But it's just we have yoga workouts for families. That's the beautiful thing about like I taught the class. I didn't teach the class last night. I hosted the class last night because my wife couldn't be there.
And where do you host it?
At Journey Ministries in Davison at our office. All right. 7:15 on Mondays, 7:15 on Wednesdays, and I hosted it. So I showed DDP's video, and we just did a workout to it, and I just kind of showed the moves.
Yep.
But the cool thing was, I'm sitting there going, we had 15 people there last night.
Yep.
And 12 of them were family members. So they were mother, daughters, dad, daughters, husband, wives. Spending time together. So they're spending time together doing yoga. Okay. And they're all different. I mean, there's guys there, there's ladies there, there's all different types of people there. And, you know, guys are telling me after one workout, they've never been able to sit Indian style with their kids on the floor in 25 years. And in one workout, they can do that now.
Yeah. And also improves the sex life, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So,
and so listen, like when I'm going to tell you something, when you first told me, you got to do that. I'm like, yeah. And then, I had my therapist, my physical therapist, like, you got to stretch before you get out of bed. And I'm like, geez. Yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking, and then you were talking about yoga, and I was like,
yeah.
You know, some of those poses, I'm like,
oh yeah.
There's some life application in this that could be possible, right?
A little HPS,
a little downward dog, boys.
That's right. Yeah, I know that's what we did our move on YouTube the other day, or on Facebook on video, and the move is I'm in down dog, and my wife puts her hands in front of my hands and does a standing split on my back.
Oh,
and so then she goes, well, what do you call the dismount? Because the first time we did it, she landed on my head, and it looked like she was giving birth to me. And she comes off. So I said, well, it's the catcher with a happy ending. And so that's kind of become our coin phrase, you know, do the catcher with a happy ending. So it's
absolutely
we have a good time with that. But yeah, it's the fun thing is you come as family, you come as you are, you make it your own. And you fart during half of it. You know, we had one guy come from church. He goes, my wife told me I had to come to this. Right after she told me, she gave me a whole bowl of chili. This was bad. And that whole side of the room was just like, oh, you know, and so.
We have a countdown.
That's right, yeah. But the cool thing is, like, his wife has had 3 hip surgeries.
Okay.
3 hip replacements. Yeah. Well, so we can show them how to get stretching safely and how to work out safely with their limitations.
Right.
With their hip surgery.
And the thing is you want the people with limitations.
I want the people with limitations.
Right. You don't want the people that are like, oh, look at me. I can touch my knees to my back or whatever.
What I want is, I realize that God prepared us for this battle of COVID. But we were like, and I don't think we were doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
I think we were not resting in the Holy Spirit at that time as much as we should have been.
Yeah.
We weren't saying, yay, God, enough, you know? And the thing is we're in this battle together with him, and we're way stronger to lean into him, let him fight the battle when we're too tired than to keep trying to push through. And as humans, our ego gets in the way. We just want to push through.
Sure. Like if we can remember that God doesn't need us to get it done.
Exactly.
Right. He chooses to let us be a part of it.
Yeah.
And like for me, I just, I can't imagine going into eternity going, yeah, thanks for the ticket, man.
Yeah.
Like, all right, cool. Now what?
Yeah.
And like, what did you do? Well, I got the ticket, man.
Yeah.
I can't imagine sitting there going like, it's like having a friend that's a millionaire that gives you money, and then, what are you doing for him? Oh, nothing. I just left, and you know what I'm saying? Like you wouldn't do that. Well, I'd appreciate that person. Like this guy came down here and gave me purpose, a reason to breathe.
Yeah,
that's what he gave us. He gave us a reason something to fight for, because he's worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
Right. And so because of that, it's like I wanted to get in there. And for me, it's communication, like how to identify good and bad communication biblically, and to add that to what you're doing. And my favorite part about it is like you said, it's for the dude that can't touch his toes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's for the person that can't get there. It's not for the person that's perfect. It's for the person that like, I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. And like, that's where our heart's met. Because, a lot of times you'll go into a church atmosphere and you're like, man, I can't be like these people. And I'm like, Jack, I'm not that cat. I'm a Jesus super freak. Right. And I love watching him succeed. But at the same time, that requires me to look at me and say, what do I got to change? And so doing that from a physical and spiritual standpoint, like with our stories, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And now you guys can see why I wanted this dude on here. So you also, now your original business is called Comfort Keepers, right?
Yes.
And that business is taking care of elderly people.
We take care of seniors and people recovering from surgery, adults recovering from surgery, and they need little extra help in their homes. So we bring the care to them. We've been doing this for 21 years.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and you're always looking for people, right?
Oh yeah.
So like if you're looking for a decent job that is in helping people, going to Comfort Keepers. You guys got a website or something?
Comfortkeepers.com.
Very easy.
Just put in the zip code and it'll pop up to our office. Or you can go on Facebook and just look up Comfort Keepers Genesee County. But the thing is we're looking for people that want to do this job for a purpose, not for a paycheck. Yeah. And so if you're that's the only way you're going to do it. Cause to be completely honest, you don't know what you're walking into when you walk into a senior's home. Yeah. And so you can go to Hobby Lobby or any place else and make the same money or better, but you better be called like a teacher or a nurse or anything like
you want to help these people.
We do for the pay that it is. So that's the thing is, I just want people that have a heart for it. Yep. And that's their ministry with very flexible hours. And, we just love people.
Right. And that's why, like a spiritual warfare unit, you go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. You hit on the right side screen. It's got those 3 dots. You hit that, it says struggling. You go down there, and we got drug rehabilitation. We got places that give out food. We got places that give out clothes. We got baby formula, because we understand that people are struggling. It costs you nothing. Yeah, it costs you nothing because sometimes you just need help. And our entire focus on this whole thing is to help people for free. And then on top of it, be able to help those people that are helping those people for free identify what they're doing so they can get their word out, because they're you're so busy doing the work. Yeah. Like you don't have time to market this stuff. Right. And so this is something I love, as you can tell, I love doing this. And we could sit here and talk about THC stories for a while.
Oh yeah.
But
and that's the thing for me is I've come to where I help people with COVID and I help their families work through the system.
Right. And now you've had a couple of those, right?
I've had a couple of those.
Give me one of those, because one of them was pretty awesome success.
Yeah. One was a chiropractor at our church. I went to his house and I said, you are not going to make it to your antibody injection tomorrow morning. And he, unbeknownst to all of us, he was way out of it. And so he was like, I didn't remember you coming over, but he was kind of telling us like, oh no, I'm going to be fine. And I'm like, there's no way. And so I tried to help, and we were talking with his wife. And the thing is with this whole thing is nurses are not public relations directors.
Right.
You know, and they're in war right now, especially on those COVID units.
Right.
So he ended up going to the hospital, went on a ventilator within 15 minutes or 20 minutes of getting to the hospital. I mean, he was really bad, really fast. And so I said, so his wife, I'm trying to help her. And this is where I see it is it's the practical application. It's the peace that God gives us as my job. Is what my ministry is. And so my wife is focused on the fitness side of it, which is awesome. And I love that. And I'm focused more on the consultative side of it. So because if you call the hospital and you go, how's Bob doing? And they're like, he's better or worse. That's all they're going to say.
Right.
But if you can call the hospital and say, okay, the practical guide of getting information out of these nurses. What does his blood clots look like? What is this? What does it ask like 4 or 5 questions?
You know the right questions.
Then if you know the right questions, you can at least get a barometer of what direction he's heading in that day.
Gotcha.
And I always say, and send them a bunch of muffins and send them nachos and send them all kinds of stuff at the COVID unit or wherever they're at, because guess what? If you're the annoying wife or husband that's going to call every day and they're eating your muffins or your donuts, you're a lot less annoying, you know? And so it's like, but that's what you got to get to. You got to make them your ally,
right?
They want to advocate for you. And I'll tell you, that's what my family did for me.
Yeah. So you started to become the ally for these other people.
Yes.
And because of your experience, you know the right questions to ask, and you know like what you just said to do. That's what you do. And because of your experience with COVID and it being so bad, and so you were on Channel 12, right?
Yep.
That whole story was on Channel 12, and so
about a minute and a half. Yeah.
yeah, right. Do you have a link to that on your?
I don't. I should. I should find. I gotta find the story. It's on Vimeo or something like that.
Yeah, because like I said, man, like from a person who's gone through a death experience to a person who's gone through a death experience, like if someone's struggling with COVID, can they go to that Facebook page or whatever and send you a message and be like, hey, my family's struggling. Could you help out?
Yeah. I mean, you go to Journey Ministries, ask them, go to the Facebook page, go to Third Monkey Fitness Facebook page, go to my personal Facebook page, just Adam Jones, search me on Facebook, and all
right. So if you got family members struggling like that, all the people that we bring on here are warriors. They are here to help in a certain way, and they typically do this stuff for free most of the time. Have you come out with any third monkey swag yet?
We have a Third Monkey Fitness shirt, and I have some Third Monkey Strong stickers. But I'm going to do some other swag that we I think for guys we don't necessarily want like certain stuff. I made a leather like journal, and I had a leather patch made of Third Monkey Strong with the Bible verses on it. Yeah. So I'm doing something with that to like sell it, and the proceeds go to help other COVID cases, things like that, and then guys can carry it with them and remember. If you're going to fight like the Third Monkey. Yeah,
that's right.
My brother started.
Yeah, we're doing, we made challenge coins. Yeah. This is called our assassin coin. Hence the assassin story today. It's an all black one.
That's cool.
And it has our SWU, Spiritual Warfare Unit. The 3 things that we value is honor, truth, and wisdom. Yeah. And so whoever is the 100th subscriber on our YouTube, we are going to send this to them for free.
Awesome.
And they'll be able to check that out. We're coming out with some hats and T-shirts and sweatshirts here in the next, say, 90 days or so. So as you were putting that together, I am absolutely stoked to work with you, AJ. I like you as a human being, but 2, being able to relate to you from that. We've gone through this really horrible experience together. That's almost like being in the military. And that's why this is the Spiritual Warfare Unit, because I'm trying to collect people who have been through that battle and taken that negative and they've turned it into a positive. Because a lot of times people go through a negative experience and become a victim of that experience and they can't succeed. But you can be a survivor. You can stand up and be a spiritual warrior when you're going through a situation, and you can come out successful, and that's why we have the Spiritual Warfare Unit. If you haven't checked it out, please go to our spiritualwarfareunit.com YouTube page, Facebook, like and subscribe. Like I said, be the 100th subscriber on our YouTube, and this little baby will be yours. Thank you for popping in, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.